地球よ旅立つ船は
Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Sean and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Tennille.
I'm Sean, and today we have a big one that a lot of our American audience, and I guess probably European and anywhere that is not Japan audience, doesn't really know a whole lot about.
I mean, I don't know if I'd say that.
We are watching Uchu no Senkan Yamato, or Space Battleship Yamato.
Mm-hmm. Or, I think when it actually first came out in America, it was referred
Star
to
Blasters.
as Star Blasters or Space Cruise Ship Yamato.
There's a lot of names for this, but the original, like the most direct translation is Space Battleship Yamato.
Mm-hmm.
And, wow.
Wow.
I heard people like giant space epics. Actually, people weren't really into them until this movie.
Yeah.
And Star Wars, which came out the same year.
Yeah. So, speaking of Star Wars, since you mentioned it now, may as well get this out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
This movie and Star Wars came out in Japan on the same weekend, and this movie blew Star Wars away. Like, Star Wars was like a blip, and Space Battleship Yamato was huge, which is amazing. You love to see it. It's fun. It's fun. Anyway, why don't we do a summary?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can kind of talk more about thoughts on the film.
Yes. I do want to briefly say that this movie is it's the retelling of the first season of the show. So all of the animation is TV show quality compared to like higher level animation.
Right.
But I don't even think that's necessarily a detriment to the movie.
No, I don't. Like, it's a little.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
I would love to have better animation for this.
But
you know what?
It's serviceable.
Yeah, the story is good enough. It doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
So, there are evil space baddies. I don't remember their names. Evil planet wants to take over Earth.
Yeah.
And so they poison Earth to the point where the seas have evaporated and humans have scurried underground and they have to hide in cities deep, deep underground as radiation continues to plunge further and further into the planet. Everyone is dying. They are woefully inequipped to do space battles with the invading forces.
Mm-hmm.
It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And
so humanity's last hope
gets a beacon from another planet, Iskandar, and they say, hey, we know how to fight off this radiation, but you need to come to us to get it.
Right.
Here are plans for a super warp drive engine for a ship.
By the way, this message is brought to them by someone from Iskandar.
Mm-hmm.
A lady who unfortunately dies because she crash lands
on Mars, and then
this takes place in like the year 20XX,
something like that.
It's like 2100 or something like that.
I don't remember exactly.
It's like a few hundred years in the future, something like that.
Yeah. She space lands on Mars. There's no air on Mars, so she dies.
Yeah.
Which is not great. But her name is Sasha or Stasha.
It's something like that.
And then the princess of the Iskandarians is the other one. They were sisters.
Yeah.
One dies, the other one lives and is sent the message. So the humans create a space battleship Yamato, which is based on the egregiously large but very real battleship that Japan made during World War II and sent out to fight the U.S. military forces when they were woefully under-equipped to actually fight it, and they knew it. And wouldn't you know it, the Yamato sank to the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Didn't it sink to the bottom of the ocean in, like, its first foray out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Japan didn't have a lot of money or resources, so they didn't have any air cover, and they were fighting the U.S. Naval forces that had a lot of airplanes. And so they easily sunk the Japanese forces.
Yeah.
Because that was around the point where Japan was definitely losing the war.
Right. But this was, like, their last big battleship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, at least at that point, it was the largest battleship that had ever been made by Japan, possibly the world.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing's huge.
Yeah. Are there any historians down in the comments below want to talk more about that?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would love to know more about it.
Take to the comment section and educate us.
Yes, I love learning stuff like this.
Yeah.
Either way, they retrofit this old spaceship, or this old battleship to become a spaceship.
Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know how that works, but space magic, sure, whatever.
Sure. The creator of the show clearly wanted to do boats in space!
In space! Sure, why not?
So they did.
Yeah.
And so the last crew takes off in Yamato, and they have 1 year to get to Iskandar and get back in order to save Earth, or else shit's fucked, yo.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're on a deadline.
They're on a deadline. And so
our brave crew sets out on Yamato to go travel out past the Milky Way to Iskandar.
Mm-hmm. And the bad guys try to stop them at every turn,
mm-hmm.
including giant space battles where they like self-destruct, and like, wow, this was a fun battle in the middle of the episode, or like the middle of the movie.
What used to be in the middle of the season.
Probably, I can only assume. I guess some of our main characters, which we don't see a whole lot of the actual cast of this because it's a very abbreviated version of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our main character, who's the plucky head combatant character.
Mm-hmm. He is he's a pilot.
He's the pilot.
He's a space pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got
his best friend, who is in charge of driving the Yamato.
Oh, is that what he did?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what he did.
Oh, yeah. He's the one that actively directed the ship.
We have the girl whose name is Yuki?
Sure.
Her name was something like that, where I was like, it's pretty easy to remember. Mm-hmm. Granted, I probably got it wrong, but I think it's Yuki.
She is.
And she's...
Girl.
She
doesn't do a lot, at least in this movie.
It's funny, we're trying to figure out what everybody's jobs are, because, we haven't watched the show. And I'm like, is she just, in charge of communications? It's like, I read back the teleprompt from the computer.
I think she is not necessarily communications, but I think she's in charge of the maps and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's a few other characters.
The captain.
There's the captain, of course, who's the old guy in charge, and he tells everyone to do things. They're like, you're insane. And he's like, I don't care, do it. And then it always works out.
Yeah, and the captain's very much he knows that this is going to be his, last mission.
Mm-hmm, because
he's to go save Earth.
He's dying from space radiation.
Yeah.
So he's like, I will get this done no matter what. Mm-hmm. And at some point, he becomes sick enough that the main character becomes, the surrogate captain.
Yeah.
We got the drunk doctor. He exists. We have a red robot character who can communicate and come up with statistics really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad we don't see a lot of this character during the show,
mm-hmm.
or the movie, because in the show, he is a horrible, horrible, lecherous robot.
Yay! Less of those types of characters, the better.
Yeah, he ogles the single female character on the ship multiple times within the first few episodes of the show.
Yeah, and luckily you don't get any of that in the movie.
Yeah, they just cut all of it, thank God.
Yeah.
Because, I guess I should explain, I actually watched the first some number of the episodes of this
mm-hmm.
before we had actually decided to watch this movie. So I had a brief idea of what was going on.
Which was really good, because I think this is a good time to say that the beginning of this movie is pretty rough if you are not familiar with it already.
You have to pay attention to every single thing they say because they cut it down to the bare bones of getting the story across. Because this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and they
easily the longest movie we've watched so far.
And they needed all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there is not a single moment of padding in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I was very, very thankful that Sean had watched some of the original anime, specifically the beginning, because, like, I normally don't have problems following along in sci-fi films, but I was like, I'm sorry, what? Is this the thing that they were talking about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? And so, luckily, Sean was like, yeah, if I remember correctly, this is this, and this is that. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you.
So either way, they get out there.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the bad guys. They blow up their secret base on the hidden Jupiter floating planet continent. That they just explode the entire the entire continent with their egregiously large entire ship cannon.
It's awesome, but it's like
It's very anime.
It's very anime. It's very silly anime over the top.
Like the entire ship just is a giant gun.
Uh-huh.
They turn off everything else in the ship just to shoot this.
Uh-huh. And they use it like
2 or 3 times.
Yeah, which you know that like during a season, it's like, ooh, they're bringing out the big gun.
Mm-hmm.
But like for the movie, it's kind of like, oh, we're using the big gun.
It solved our problems.
Oh, we're using the big gun. It solved all our problems, yeah.
Yeah. Either way, in the middle, the top general of the bad guys, like, challenges them to a sportsmanly duel to the death with their ships, and like has 3 freighters there, and like he outmaneuvers them at every turn, but the good guys win in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to Iskandar. And wouldn't you know it, the bad guys are the planet that is right next to them.
Yeah, they're like 2 planets that orbit each other.
Yeah, kind of like how the moon orbits Earth, except these 2 orbit each other while orbiting their own sun.
Yeah.
And the bad guys' planet is dying. Their air is acidic. Their ocean is pure acid.
Yeah.
There's volcanoes and acid rain, and the whole thing is just gone to crap. And
you could say that this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah. Cautionary tale of
taking care of your own planet. Because that's the whole thing with these bad guys, is that, you know, so Yamato gets to the bad guys' planet, and they're like, well, in order to get to Iskandar, we're going to have to go through the enemy planet. We have to deal with
the bad guys pulled them in with like a grab or something.
The whole thing is like they cannot avoid conflict here.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yamato wins.
But in doing so, they kill everyone.
It's like it goes from a dying planet to a dead planet.
It's a dead planet. Everyone on that planet died. And then, after they're done, the main character and the girl are standing on top of the ship, and they're just like, "Oh God, we killed."
It's not a happy moment. It's horrible.
Like, I think the main character even says something along the lines of "Victory tastes like ashes."
Mm-hmm. Well, and they specifically say, it's like
we could have worked together.
Yeah, it's like. This conflict could have been avoided. This isn't a victory. This is horrible. If Earth was in
their
the same
position.
Yeah, if Earth was in their same shoes, it's like we would have done the same terrible things as these people to try and fight for survival.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is a good message.
It's like that's a nuanced take that I was not expecting to come from a movie like this.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, we're the good guys and we won, screw those bad guys. It's more of like, God, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had to do it, but, like, if the roles were reversed, it could have easily gone the other way.
Right.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they get to Iskandar. There is only one person on the planet
who is still alive.
It's only Stasha or Sasha, whatever her name is.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else in her planet is dead. But she gives them the device that will clean up the radiation from their planet. And also, you should take this human back with you.
Right. We forgot to mention, our main character has a brother.
Our main character had a brother that died in the very first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
It was a sortie with the bad guys where the humans died immediately. They were horribly outmatched. And the main character's brother died. But turns out he didn't die. He was picked up by the bad guy forces and he was taken back to their planet to be tested on. But their ship got landed on the wrong planet. I don't know. Somehow this lady got the brother and nursed him back to health, and they fell in love, and she's like, you should go. But the main character's like, you guys are in love. You should stay together. And the bro is like, you know what? I'm doing that.
Yep. Staying on Iskandar.
I'm just going to stay on Iskandar. And then the girl says, they're going to be the Adam and Eve of the Iskandarian people. And I'm like, I mean, you're not wrong, I guess.
Good luck with that. Sounds messy.
I like how the brother is just like, you know what? I've had enough of war and dying planets.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to live on this planet with my girlfriend for all time and be at peace.
Yeah.
This sounds great. That makes me wonder if he'll come back in any of the sequels.
Oh, yeah, because there are absolutely sequels to this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Either way, they get back to Earth fairly uneventfully because the bad guys are now dead.
Yeah.
They've built the machine, it works, it cures the radiation, and just as they're pulling into Earth, the captain's on his deathbed, and he's like he was super stubborn old man. He's like, I won't die until I see Earth. And then he sees Earth, and he's like,
cool, I'm dying now.
I did it. Good, we made it back. Blech.
Blech.
And then he dies. And it's actually
It's really moving.
It's a really... Even if the animation is not very good,
mm-hmm.
the tone and the feel of the entire show / movie is great. It knows how to pace things.
That being said, the first hour of this...
Okay, the first hour had to be rushed.
A little rough.
You're not wrong.
I would probably... as someone who hasn't watched the show, I'd probably recommend someone watch the first half of the show.
Or at least the first few episodes of them actually setting up the plot. I'd say it's like the first 4 episodes or so before they actually get into space and understand how to use their own ship, because a lot of the beginning episodes are like, we need to figure out how to use the warp drive and make sure we don't explode space when we do it. And
right, yeah.
And like an entire episode is just that.
Yeah.
So it's very slow paced and it's very dramatic. And apparently the show kept track of how many people were on this ship, because once they got black, they're like, the trip took X amount of days and X amount of people out of X amount of people died. And it's like, wow, the show creators really paid attention to the details. They wanted this to be as realistic, or like fairly realistic.
I mean, I feel like that more so plays along the tropes of this type of movie where you have like the army men who go out. There is usually like an afterword in these kind of movies where it talks about like the troop blah 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 and so many of them died and da 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 da,
Yes.
So like it's using that trope but with
it's now in space.
It's now in space, yeah. Which is cool. I like seeing something like that because like even though it's animated and it's fake, it helps it feel more real, like, because it gives a number to the people.
For.
Yeah.
And they do it so well.
Yeah, it's cool. Like,
there is goofy stuff, like the bad guys send an evil corrosive gas cloud against them in space, which is really dumb. But when they aren't doing stuff like that, It works.
It's a really good movie, man.
I would absolutely suggest people watch this.
It is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the first hour is a bit of a slog. But man, that second hour and 15 minutes is chef kiss.
I can't wait to see what the sequels are like.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited.
And the remakes.
Oh, yeah.
Because this absolutely gets remade.
Yeah.
There's a 2010 live action remake that we won't be watching.
Of course. Of course.
And it's grungy as hell from just looking at it.
Oh, man. So anyway, like we were saying before, this movie, like, did phenomenally. The show did phenomenally.
It's hella influential. We're going to see,
even
like...
to this day.
Yeah. This is a turning point in anime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a joke.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we had this movie so that we could talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, and this is unfortunately a problem with the way Animation Pilgrimage is formatted, is that because we're watching movies, we're not going to experience the really influential stuff of Japan the way it's meant to be experienced. Because most of the important steps made in Japanese animation is made through anime, not through movies.
Well, like television.
Right.
Because anime still counts movies as well.
I think most people, though, would still say that, like, anime more so refers to shows versus movies, but
yeah,
I don't know. I could be wrong on that.
It's like, that's not to say there aren't influential anime movies that we'll be watching in the future. Hayao Miyazaki makes a lot of it.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff is still television.
Mm-hmm.
And we can only talk about so much of it.
Yeah.
Because we don't know.
But, again, really glad I got a chance to watch this because I really ended up enjoying it. And I was kind of dreading it, just looking at that
length.
Yeah, that 2 hour and 15 minute length, and knowing that it was like just a compilation of the show. I was like, I don't know. But like, this was really good. And even though it's only a Cliff Notes version of the show, watching this definitely made me more likely in the future to want to go check out the show.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, cool, I enjoyed this. I might actually enjoy some of the filler episodes that got us there and actually get some character interactions.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing to go in this adaptation. It's just, we need to get the plot beats first and character interactions if we have time.
Yeah. It's like the only characters you really get a feel for knowing at all is the main guy, the captain, the girl.
A little bit.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And even then, they don't even see really any development until, like, after that hour mark.
Mm-hmm. It's like, we get to Iskandar, and then suddenly the guy and the girl are talking about, man, I can't wait until we get married when we get back. And I'm just like, wait, what?
Huh?
When
Is
was
there
this
a romance
established?
going on? I guess.
I guess we're doing a romance now.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but also everybody has not had any character, so...
All right. Yeah.
Other things of note is that... So, the version Sean and I watched was the version that went to theaters.
Yes.
However, when this movie was then later broadcast on TV, they actually reanimated the Iskandar
scene
so that it was shorter and it would fit into
a 2-hour slot.
A broadcast slot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was on our DVD of this movie because we had to buy the DVD of it, which, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I have it now. But it's funny because
it happens in 5 seconds. It's like, hi, I'm a hologram. I can't come see you because I'm the last of my kind. Here's your stuff. Bye.
Yeah.
And the brother is not even mentioned.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Because, like, in the movie, like, yeah, you spend, like, a good 15 minutes in Iskandar. And, like, the crew kind of takes a little time to...
decompress a little bit. Because it's been stressful. And then they're like, oh, we did it. Now we just need to make it back, and we have less time than we hoped, so we gotta go.
Right. Yeah. And then, other than that, there was also some... There's some not backlash per se, because, you know, when most of Japan's movies have made it over here to America for the first time, or to English-speaking audiences in general in Europe and all that, you know, they don't get a whole lot of coverage.
Mm-hmm.
But the reviews were like, this is...
American reviews.
Yeah, American reviews. Just make me laugh because, like, they don't get it.
Yeah, they're like, it's bloated and boring and I don't care and what's going on.
It's all TV animation.
Why is there no action?
Yeah, and why are they celebrating a Japanese warship? Meh, America.
It's very militaristic, says the American dead face into the camera.
The camera.
It's like, hello, that's what a lot of American stuff is.
It's
too.
okay when you do it in America, but it's not okay if anybody else does it.
Yeah, because that is true. It is definitely...
It glorifies.
Yeah, it glorifies the Japanese military might.
Mm-hmm.
And, like... Well,
it's unapologetic about that.
Yeah, it's like, well, of course it's gonna do that.
It's an army movie.
It's an army movie created by someone that grew up in the aftermath and was possibly alive at a young age during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that they grew up with and are probably incredibly fascinated with. Why, of course they're going to make an anime that deeply delves into those ideas.
Oh, yeah, and there is definitely Hiroshima imagery.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely nuclear-style explosions that happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to let you know...
That's just going to be a thing for Japan.
That's just a thing.
And I don't think that surprises anyone unless you have not watched any anime.
If they want to set big stakes and have a traumatizing imagery, they use
That's
nukes.
the one they go to,
because it happened to them.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's
just great.
Yeah.
And now,
I would recommend it, especially if, like me, you are potentially interested in seeing the anime, but don't necessarily have as much time. You know, put this on, see if it interests you. It's got a great story. It certainly influenced a lot of anime and animation to come.
Oh, yeah. The next, 4 years or so that we've looked into for Animation Pilgrimage, we have many giant Japanese space operas to watch.
Uh-huh.
At least one of them goes over 3 hours.
Oh my god. That I'm a little less excited for.
Because you know they can't all be as good as this.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Hopefully they're half as good. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. But anyway, next time
we have a movie from Japan and America.
Yeah.
They work together, which, I mean, is going to be a thing that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Mouse and His Child.
Which I've seen the poster for this, and it's confusing because it says that it's like some kind of classic, but I've never heard of this before.
Yeah. Let's find out what it's about.
Yep. See you then.
Battleship Yamato